because there's been a lot going on in development about how the links between, if you like, development practice and academia and also policy are very, very weak, these links. And originally we had this model that we talked about at these different workshops in which there was overlap between these domains. But actually, when we talked to, for example, in 2008, we talked to a group of researchers, they were saying, oh no, these domains of practice, academia and policy, they're not at all linked. There is no overlap. They're totally separate. They've got their own different ways of working at knowledge and they barely interact. We had to rethink the way we were looking at them. And the really good thing about what I thought was very interesting about the potential of this, because it's never been done before as far as we know, we couldn't find any evidence that it will be done, was to use the visualizations which are generated by these tools to analyse the difference between these different domains and actually to visualise the difference, because people, some people say they're not linked, other people say they are. So it was a matter of visualising the difference between them. An ordinary person in Nepal or Bangladesh or Sri Lanka, what relevance does this have to you? Well, I think the relevance is, I think there are a couple of things really. Firstly, in this sort of theoretical model of how these three sectors interact, actually you want them to interact because there is a sort of academic approach which argues that this is where they interact is where the innovation is taking place. And of course with development you do need innovation, because innovation is very important for change. But on the other hand, there's other groups of people who would argue that, that development, and one of these is our colleague Valerie Brown in Australia, who would argue that development is a wicked problem that means it's very difficult to solve, very socially embedded, and that actually you can't actually solve problems, you can only resolve them by bringing together different sorts of knowledge. So then it's very, very important to see how these different sorts of knowledge interact. And I think, we used the example of the Millennium Development Goals, looking at how they were used in the communications of these development knowledge domains. And we really reached the conclusion that there was not good interaction between them. I mean, one of the things that we did when we were using this analysis, we actually realised that we in fact couldn't analyse practice, because the information and knowledge from practice is on a website, it's in PDF. There's not really, if you like, a sort of infrastructure for preserving the knowledge from practice, because I think if it's not visualised, I think you can, you have lots and lots of data and you can't get a grip on it. And this visualisation, I think, really shows you, for example, one of the things that the Dutch media on the Millennium Development Goals, the most coverage was on a prize that there's a Dutch pop band called Bluff, which received a prize, and most of the coverage on the Millennium Development Goals in the Dutch media between 2005 and 2008 was around this prize that the pop band had received, which I think is sort of demonstrative of quite a superficial interest in development, to be honest.